Nights in Snowfall Village were known for their tranquility. The village, surrounded by pine forests and snow-capped mountains, looked like it had been taken from a Christmas postcard. The people lived simply, but Christmas was always celebrated with fervor. Bright lights decorated the houses, garlands adorned doorways, and families gathered to prepare cakes, cookies, and mulled wine. But that year, something seemed different. The air carried a vibration that no one could explain. It was as if the village was subtly synchronized with something invisible, something that brought a mixture of unease and fascination. The snow fell more slowly. The lights in the trees flickered, as if responding to a melody that only the heart could hear. Before I continue, if you feel that stories like this touch your soul, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's your support that allows us to continue sharing messages of love, awakening, and transformation. Clara, who lived in a cabin on the edge of the forest, has always been more sensitive to these changes. Ever since she was little, she felt that there was something special about Snowfall Village, something that the eyes couldn't see. Her dreams often took her to unknown places, where mountains shone like liquid gold, and rivers flowed in spirals of light. Lately, these dreams had become more vivid, almost real. On Christmas Eve, Clara was awoken abruptly in the middle of the night. The clock next to her bed read exactly 3:15 in the morning. Her body was filled with a strange energy. Not tiredness, but a sense of urgency, as if something important was about to happen. Looking out of the window, he saw the village covered in a golden mist. In the sky, a star shone with unusual intensity, radiating lights that seemed to dance in the air. Without knowing what it meant, Clara stood there, watching the scene with her heart racing. She felt that the star was somehow connected to her, calling her to a purpose she couldn't yet understand. Sleep didn't return that night, but one thought remained in her mind. Something big was happening, something she couldn't ignore. The next morning, as the village woke up for another day of Christmas preparations, Clara noticed that she wasn't the only one feeling something strange. Several villagers commented on an inexplicable feeling of exhaustion. Mr. Tobias, the village baker, said that he had dreamt of colors so intense that when he woke up, he felt more tired than before. Mrs. Margot, the florist, confessed that she had been crying for no apparent reason for the last few days. "It's as if all my emotions are coming to the surface," she said, her eyes watering. Clara realized that somehow everyone seemed to be connected to this change. She herself felt strange in her body. There was a pressure in her head, ringing in her ears, and a vibration in the palms of her hands. The villagers began to report similar phenomena: waves of drowsiness during the day, an almost irresistible need to sleep, and dreams that seemed more real than life itself. Clara spent hours walking around the village, observing people. She noticed that some of them seemed lighter, as if they were at peace with what was happening, while others bore expressions of confusion and resistance. A thought began to arise in his mind. Could it be that the village was undergoing some kind of collective transformation? That night, while trying to find answers, Clara remembered something her grandfather used to say when she was a child. "The earth is a living thing, young lady. When it changes, so do we." These words, which had once seemed like poetry, now made more sense than ever. The next morning, when Clara opened the door to her hut, she found a mysterious envelope on the threshold. It was made of a material that looked like paper, but with a light texture and a subtle glow, as if it were made of condensed light. Inside was a message written in golden letters that pulsed slightly, as if they were alive. "Chosen ones are awakening. As the earth raises its vibration, those prepared to lead the transition will feel the call. You feel it in your body, in your soul. Leave fear behind and embrace the light that pulses within you. The new earth is being born, and you are part of it. Clara read the message several times, each word reverberating in her heart. She knew it was no coincidence. The letter seemed to have been written especially for her, but how? Who had left that message? And what did it mean to be a chosen one? For hours, Clara remained in her hut, reflecting on what was happening. There was something powerful and undeniable unfolding around her, something that went beyond what she could comprehend. But at the same time, she felt ready to accept whatever came next. Clara decided to seek help. There was only one person in the village who might have answers: Gideon, the guardian of the mountains. He was an almost mythical figure in Snowfall Village, known for his wisdom and his deep knowledge of the invisible forces of the universe. Many said that he had the gift of speaking with the spirits of the forest, and that his hut was surrounded by an energy so pure that even the birds were drawn to it. The walk to Gideon's hut wasn't easy, especially in thick snow, but Clara felt it was something she had to do. As she walked up the winding path, she felt a mixture of fear and curiosity. The wind whispered between the trees, carrying fragments of voices that seemed to encourage her to continue. When she finally reached the hut, she was greeted by a sight that seemed straight out of a fairy tale. Crystals hanging from trees sparkled in the sunlight, creating reflections that danced in the air. Gideon was sitting on the balcony, as if he had already known she was coming. Without saying a word, he gestured for Clara to come closer. Inside the hut, Clara told him everything: the dreams, the changes in her body, the reports from the villagers, and the golden letter. Gideon listened in silence, his eyes shining with a wisdom that seemed to transcend time. When she had finished, he finally spoke. "What you are feeling is the call of the new earth. The earth is transforming, and those who are ready to accompany this transition are being awakened. Their bodies are adjusting to resonate at a higher frequency. It's an intense process, but necessary for collective ascension." Clara remained silent as Gideon's words hung in the air. The transformation he was describing was not something she could fully understand, but somehow it seemed familiar. He explained that humanity was going through a unique period, in which the vibration of the planet was rising to a new dimension, lighter, more subtle. This transition, he said, was what many were calling the creation of the new earth. Gideon talked about the symptoms that Clara and the other residents were feeling: the extreme tiredness, the ringing in the ears, the emotional fluctuations. It was all part of a natural process of recalibration. People's bodies were adjusting to a higher state of existence, abandoning their carbon density and taking on a crystalline structure. This change would allow them to withstand the new frequencies that were settling in on Earth. He added that not everyone would go through this transformation in the same way. Those who resist the process, he said, will face more difficulties. It is essential to embrace the changes, accept the emotions that arise, and allow the energies to do their work. He smiled, a gentle smile that seemed to light up the whole room. You, Clara, have been called because you have a role to play. You are not alone, but your journey is unique. Clara felt a weight come off her shoulders. For the first time in weeks, the changes she was experiencing began to make sense. She understood that she was part of something much bigger, something that transcended her immediate understanding. When Clara returned to Snowfall Village, everything looked different. The streets were covered in snow, and the Christmas lights were twinkling as usual, but she felt something else, a palpable energy, a subtle vibration that seemed to pulsate in the air. Now that she knew what was going on, she could see the signs around her more clearly. The expressions on the faces of the residents, the small gestures of kindness that had gone unnoticed before, Even the sound of the wind seemed to be part of the same process of transformation. Over the next few days, Clara began to share what she had learned with Gideon. She didn't try to convince anyone, but simply spoke of her own experience. Some people listened with curiosity, others with skepticism, but many felt a sense of relief knowing that they were not alone. Clara's words brought comfort to those who were confused or frightened. One evening, while walking through the village square, Clara noticed something extraordinary. The lights on the houses seemed brighter than ever, and the snow reflected a golden glow. A group of children were playing around a Christmas tree, laughing and throwing snowballs. In the middle of the square, adults gathered around a bonfire, sharing stories and laughter. Clara realized that despite all the difficulties, the village was more united than ever. On Christmas Eve, something magical happened. For weeks, Clara had been noticing the bright star in the sky, but that night it seemed different. Its light, once distant, was now so intense that it illuminated the entire village, as if it were day. People came out of their houses to watch, their faces filled with a mixture of surprise and awe. Clara felt a deep calling. Without knowing exactly why, she started walking towards the forest. Others followed, as if guided by an invisible force. When they reached the edge of the forest, they found a clearing covered in a golden mist. In the center of the clearing, starlight seemed to descend directly from the sky, creating a pillar of luminous energy. The people were silent, unable to look away. It was as if that light was speaking directly to their souls. Clara closed her eyes and felt a wave of warmth and peace run through her body. In her mind, she saw images of a new world, green fields, crystal clear rivers, cities where people lived in harmony. It wasn't a physical place, but a state of being, the fifth dimension, as Gideon had described it. Over the next few days, the whole village began to change. People who had previously been stuck in automatic routines began to pay more attention to the present moment. Small acts of kindness became commonplace, neighbors helping each other, families coming together to share meals, children bringing joy where there had previously been silence. Clara realized that the transformation was not only physical, but also emotional and spiritual. The shadows that each person carried, fears, resentments, regrets, were coming to the surface, but now they were seen as opportunities for healing. Each tear shed seemed to purify the soul, allowing people to connect with their true essence. As the days passed, the clarity about what was happening in Snowfall Village deepened. Clara began to notice that even the elements of nature seemed more alive. The snow-covered trees shone with a subtle glow under the moonlight, and the sound of the wind was like a comforting whisper. The vibe of the village had changed. People spoke more softly, listened more patiently, and showed greater respect for each other and their surroundings. Many of the villagers began to share stories of dreams similar to Clara's. Dreams of portals of light, green fields, and beings enveloped in golden energy. Some children, more receptive to the new frequencies, began to talk spontaneously about angels who live in the mountains or crystal cities. Even the most skeptical began to realize that something bigger was happening. Clara, who had previously hesitated to lead, now took on her role naturally. It wasn't because she was looking for attention, but because people began to seek her out, to understand what they were experiencing. She explained that the process everyone was going through, the intense emotions, the vivid dreams, the changes in the body, was part of a transition to a new state of consciousness. It was a purification that prepared their bodies and souls for a deeper connection with the energy of the new earth. On New Year's Eve, something extraordinary happened. The villagers decided to gather in the clearing where they had first seen the starlight. Gideon, who rarely left his hut, was also present, bringing with him crystals that he claimed were charged with the energy of the earth. As the group gathered in a circle, Clara felt the same energy she had experienced when observing the star for the first time. It was a gentle warmth, a pulsation that seemed to come from the very core of the planet. Gideon began to speak, explaining that the earth was vibrating at a higher frequency, and that everyone was being called to align with this new energy. He asked them to close their eyes and breathe deeply, allowing the light from the star to fill them. What happened next was something no one could have predicted. The golden light, which had previously seemed distant, began to move across the clearing, enveloping every person present. It wasn't just a light, but a living energy that seemed to know exactly where each person needed healing. Some cried, others laughed, and many remained silent, absorbing the experience with gratitude. Clara felt something change inside her. It was as if her whole body was becoming lighter, clearer. She knew without a shadow of a doubt that she was undergoing the transformation that Gideon had described, from carbon to crystalline. It wasn't just physical, it was spiritual, emotional, and energetic. When she opened her eyes, she saw that the others had changed too. Their faces glowed with a new vitality, and their eyes were full of hope. After that night, Snowfall Village was never the same again. The starlight disappeared, but the energy it brought remained. People continued to live their lives, but with a renewed awareness. Small gestures became big changes. Families got together more often. The land was cultivated more carefully, and the whole village began to function as a real community. Clara, however, knew that this was only the beginning. Gideon explained that the chosen were not just those who lived in the village, but everyone around the world who was listening to the call. He said that everyone's work was essential to help anchor the energy of the new earth, and that this began with individual transformation. Clara began to dedicate her days to meditating, learning more about the energy she felt, and helping others to understand their own journeys. She knew that the path wouldn't be easy, that shadows would still appear, that doubts could return. But she also knew that there was a greater light guiding everyone. Years later, Snowfall Village was known as a special, almost magical place. Visitors who came there often commented on the peace they felt walking through the streets or talking to the locals. Many didn't know what had happened that New Year's Eve, but they could feel the effects. Clara continued her work, but she wasn't looking for recognition. She knew that her role was not to be a visible leader, but a silent guide, someone who helped others find their own light. The village prospered, but more importantly, people's hearts opened to a love and unity that had previously seemed impossible. In her meditations, Clara still saw the new earth, not as a distant place, but as something that was being built every day, in every act of kindness, in every choice to live with love and compassion. She knew that the work of the chosen ones would never end, but she also knew that the future was bright. My dear chosen ones, the story of Clara and the village of Snowfall is, in fact, a reflection of what is happening inside each one of us. Just as she heard the call and faced the shadows to find her light, you too are going through a profound moment of transformation. There may be days when the weight of the changes seems unbearable. There may be nights when you feel alone, as if the whole world doesn't understand what you're going through. But know this, you are not alone. There is a reason why you were called, why you are going through this now. The earth needs your light, and the universe is with you every step of the way. Every emotion, every doubt, and every victory is part of a bigger plan, designed to bring you to a state of consciousness where love, compassion, and unity are the foundations of your existence. Allow yourself to feel, heal, and be reborn. Transformation is the way, and what awaits you on the other side is brighter than you can imagine. I want you to take this message with you. The new earth is not just a place, it is a state of being. When you choose light over fear, forgiveness over resentment, and unity over separation, you are already creating this new world. Now share with us in the comments. How are you feeling during your awakening journey? What signs or changes have you noticed in your life? This space is for you, a place where we can all support each other and grow together. I am George, your friend and spiritual leader, and I want you to know that we are connected, even across distances. This channel is a beacon for those on the path of ascension, and I'm here to guide you as you discover your true essence. If this message has touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to continue receiving reflections, stories, and teachings that will help you navigate this transformation. Your light is important to the world, and together we can build the new earth we dream of. With love, hope, and deep gratitude, George.